Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. Capitol Police have said that they did not see footage of Paul Pelosi being attacked on security cameras. We'll hear their explanation as to why. A lawsuit has been filed for poll workers to have jab mandates in one county. We'll hear from the attorney working on the case. With the midterms coming up, several propositions are up for vote on the ballot. We'll break down what each one is about. Paul Pelosi has been released from the hospital. According to a statement from the Speaker of the House, her husband is resting at home after the attack 6 days ago. As for the investigation, Capitol Police have said that the cameras at the Pelosi's home were not being monitored at the time Paul Pelosi was attacked. Nancy Pelosi was in Washington with her protective detail during this time.
The U.S. Capitol Police, or USCP, confirmed on Tuesday that the cameras at the San Francisco home of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi were not being monitored during the October 28th attack on Paul Pelosi. According to the USCP, the cameras are not, quote, actively monitored unless Nancy Pelosi is at home. Personnel at the USCP's command center did not notice anything was amiss at the Pelosi residence until they noticed police activity at the home. The USCP said it has launched an internal security review and will be gathering input and questions from members of Congress. USCP Chief Tom Menger is also seeking for more resources to provide additional security to the family members of key lawmakers. The USCP said, quote, "Our brave men and women are working around the clock to meet this urgent mission during this divisive time." Nancy Pelosi's office has not responded to requests for comment.
With the midterm elections soon arriving on Tuesday, voting in Southern California may be impacted based on the vaccination policy. That's according to a constitutional attorney who spoke with the NTD's David Lam. On top of that, officials are warning of a spread of a common childhood cold.
Voter turnout this year in several Southern California counties may be impacted due to concerns regarding illnesses. Since October 1st, 2021, Los Angeles County has required the COVID-19 jabs for all county employees. This also applies to election poll workers, according to constitutional lawyer Alexander Haberbush. He filed a lawsuit on September 28th on behalf of Emily Wolf, who wasn't able to apply to work at the polls as she opposes the COVID jab mandate. Wolf has previously qualified and been accepted to work as a paid poll worker during the 2021 recall election of the governor.
And then when she tried to reapply for the June 2022 primary, was unable to submit any information until she had provided them proof of vaccination for COVID-19.
Vaccination, or lack thereof, Haberbush says, has become a litmus test for a lot of different political organizations.
By compelling a certain type of political speech from a poll worker, Los Angeles is effectively discriminating against a political viewpoint at the polls that directly imperils our electoral process, and we believe it needs to be remedied immediately.
They also included the Secretary of State in the lawsuit.
First thing that their attorney did was contacted me, said, "We had nothing to do with this policy. There is not a statewide policy requiring this. Los Angeles has acted on their own." So that's the situation right now.
The lawsuit states that LA County's vaccination policy prevents individuals like Wolf from working as a poll worker, violating the California Voters' Rights Act. Haberbush said that if people who oppose COVID jabs knew that everyone at a voting station received them, it may influence their choice to vote or not.
Say they oppose vaccination outright. If they got wind of this and learned that every single person administering our election, every single person counting the votes, has a contrary opinion to them on this issue, that would absolutely chill voter turnout. And the court has overruled election laws for much, much less. Political bias has no place at the polls.
A hearing date for Wolf's case is scheduled for January 6, 2023. In another county's action against the disease, Orange County declared a state of emergency on October 31st due to a spike in pediatric hospitalizations. That's in response to respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV. County Health Officer Dr. Regina Chincio Kwong recommended locals to continue, quote, the use of masks when indoors around others and staying home when you are sick. Critics have speculated that the county is doing this coinciding with the November election, affecting vote-in-person turnout. That's because of the mild and widespread nature of the disease. According to Mayo Clinic, RSV causes infections of the lungs and respiratory tract. Their website says the disease is, quote, so common that most children have been infected with the virus by age 2. In adults or older healthy children, RSV symptoms typically mimic the common cold. San Diego County announced an early spike in flu and RSV cases, and while COVID-19 cases were currently trending down in the region, they don't want to strain the medical system. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
The upcoming election is around the corner, and with that, Californians have 7 propositions to vote on. Here's a look at what each proposition would change.
There are 7 propositions that Californians need to know about for the upcoming midterm elections. Here's the rundown. Up first is Prop 1 about abortion. What Proposition 1 would do is change the California Constitution to expressly say the state cannot deny or interfere with a person's decision to choose or to have an abortion or to use contraceptives. Governor Gavin Newsom has supported the proposition, but opponents say the language is too vague, which could allow for misconstrued interpretations. Prop 26 has to do with in-person sports betting. It would allow for adults to bet in person on sporting events at tribal casinos and racetracks. It would require businesses to shoulder the costs of regulating betting activities, and they would pay the state a share for the bets made. Supporters say it will help self-reliance by creating jobs within Indian tribes, while opponents say it would increase tribal casinos' tax-free monopoly. Prop 27 is also about gambling, but for online and mobile sports wagering outside tribal land. Supporters say it will bring in hundreds of millions in revenue and assist the homeless situation in the state. Opponents say legalization would lead to more gambling, addiction, crime, and would not be a solution to homelessness. Prop 28 would require additional funding for K-12 public and charter schools for arts and music programs. Right now, elementary schools require them, while middle and high schools offer them as electives. The estimated cost is around $1 billion, adding to the $110 billion per year of California's education budget. This proposal has no formal opposition, but some say funds could go to other programs that are more needed. Prop 29 would require a physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant to be on site at dialysis clinics during all treatment hours. Supporters say the initiative would improve the quality of treatment and improve service, but those who are against it say those requirements will increase operation costs, making it difficult for a patient to have access to treatment. Prop 30 would require those who have an annual income above $2 million to pay more taxes. It's expected to increase state tax revenue by $3.5 to $5 billion annually. Funds would go to zero-emission vehicle programs. Opponents argue it will only worsen California's income tax, already the highest in the nation. And last is Prop 31 from a 2020 law that would ban the sale of most flavored tobacco products or tobacco flavor enhancers. Violators would be fined $250 for each violation. Supporters say flavored tobacco products are a lure to get the young into smoking. Opponents, however, say there are already laws prohibiting selling tobacco products to those under 21 years of age. Elections will be held next Tuesday, so get ready to go out and cast your vote. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
State officials are painting a bright picture of California's economic situation, but research organizations are saying the picture is much more bleak. Here's a look at conflicting information that's coming out.
There are mixed signals about California's economy, jobs, and inflation. Governor Gavin Newsom said that California has become the world's 4th largest economy, overtaking Germany in GDP growth. But the California Business Roundtable said in a recent press release that the Golden State is unlikely to pass Germany. They expect it only achieved its 5th place spot due to, quote, contraction of the UK economy in the wake of Brexit. According to the industry group, the ongoing cost of living crisis in housing, energy, food, and other essentials has hampered California's competitiveness.
If GDP is adjusted to account for purchasing parity, a measure of what people can buy, then California would be 11th internationally, quote, struggling to stay above Turkey. Similarly, conflicting messages exist in unemployment. The Employment Development Department announced that California's unemployment rate fell to 3.9% in September, tying July for the lowest rate recorded since 1976. But Michael Bernick, a former EDD director and attorney at Duane Morris, told CalMatters that California's unemployment rate fell only because the number of Californians in the labor force has also declined. This follows with recent census data showing the state's population is contracting. According to Tuesday reports from the Public Policy Institute of California, unemployment has increased among Asian and Black Californians. More than a quarter of Californians are still living in or near poverty. For the first time in a decade, California has more job openings than job seekers. The report said that higher wages have limited business growth potential and have raised prices. Although private sector workers' wages have increased 14% since 2020, they've actually fallen 1.3% once adjusted for inflation.
We are going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. Family members gathered outside of a consulate in San Francisco, calling for the release of relatives who are currently political prisoners. We'll hear how and why these individuals were targeted. And Los Angeles has enacted new ordinances against the pregnancy centers. That's for discouraging women to have abortions. That and more on California Today. One storm has passed through part of the state, and another is on the way. Here's a look at how much snow fell recently and what to expect for the weekend.
A November storm has brought more than a foot of much-needed snow to the Sierra Nevada and rainfall in the northern Central Valley. The UC Berkeley Central Sierra Snow Lab reported 17 inches of snow as of Thursday morning. But the wet weather is not over. The National Weather Service reported that Thursday and Friday will be dry, but another storm will be back starting on the weekend and going into next week. Heavy snow is expected and will lead to delays for mountain travelers. Chains are required for drivers on I-80. Caltrans previously closed several highways in the Sierra Nevada between Monday night and Tuesday morning. Travelers experienced major delays on I-80 due to crashes and slick road conditions. Officials advise people with plans to travel through the mountains to check road conditions from Caltrans beforehand. Information can be found at quickmap.dot.ca.gov or by calling 1-800-427-7623. It is also advised to have chains, a shovel, a full tank of gas, flashlights, food and water, and warm clothes on hand.
A group of Bay Area residents gathered at a consulate in San Francisco, calling for the release of their family members who have become political prisoners. They say they were abducted during a major recent political event in the country.
Family members called for the release of prisoners of conscience held within Chinese jails. One of them was Newark resident Huang Changyu, who hasn't heard from his father in nearly a month.
They came at 7 p.m., around 7 p.m. in the October 11th to abduct my father away from his home.
According to his aunt, police in the capital city of Beijing abducted his 66-year-old father, named Huang Yongchang, for his spiritual belief in Falun Gong. They locked him in a detention center. The arrest came amidst the 20th National Congress for the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. Sweeping political persecution often precedes large political events in the communist country.
My father was distributing some messages in the social media. Obviously, it was noticed by the police. And I don't know the real reason. Right now, we are still trying to see why they just come to my home. We don't know the real reason. That's our guess.
Huang hasn't given up hope of getting back in touch with his father, despite family members being restricted from visiting him. His father, like many Falun Gong practitioners, perseveres in the face of persecution because of the health benefits the practice brought.
After the practice, his health got essentially improved. He never ate any pill of drugs during the last 20 years. And also he used to wear glass. After practice, he got rid of his glass. Yeah, and also he is a very good person, even better after he practiced Falun Gong.
Falun Gong consists of 5 sets of meditation exercises, as well as teachings that guide people to follow the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. But in 1999, the CCP banned the practice in China. When the CCP captures a believer, it will detain, torture, and even have their organs surgically harvested for black market sale.
Yeah, my appeal is that the U.S. government can help reach out to the Chinese government, the President Xi, and the local police station to tell them to release my father, who is innocent, who is just doing good for the society, but just insist on his belief in truthfulness, compassion, forbearance in Falun Gong.
Liu Zhitong, an Alameda resident, is calling for the release of her 56-year-old mother, Kong Qingping. Police abducted her on October 22nd and sent to a detention center in the northeastern Manchurian city of Dalian. She is also a Falun Gong practitioner. Similarly, family members may not see her.
I'm worried because I know the Chinese government brutally persecutes Falun Gong practitioners, so I'm worried she's now facing the same predicament.
Her mother has practiced Falun Gong since 2004.
Before she practiced Falun Gong, she had many health problems. Her body was bad, and because she was unwell, she was easily irritated. But after she practiced Falun Gong, she became healthy. In addition, her condition became very good. The family became harmonious.
Friends and families voiced grave concern for Professor Huang and Mrs. Kong's safety. They worried that a show trial may take place, a common formality prisoners of conscience suffer in China. Liu, Huang, and others urged for an international appeal to release their family members immediately.
The Los Angeles City Council voted to pass an ordinance that will punish pregnancy service centers for misleading women. The ordinance alleges the centers have misleading advertisements.
The Los Angeles City Council voted 10-0 with 5 members absent to pass an ordinance that would punish pregnancy centers for misleading advertisements. According to the ordinance, each violation would carry a $10,000 fine. Pregnancy centers support women who are unsure about whether to have an abortion, give up their child for adoption, or keep the baby. City Attorney Mike Feuer said, "When it comes to reproductive health, time matters. And truth matters. Women's rights and health cannot be on the line because of misleading information." Feuer proposed the ordinance at last month's City Council meeting. Taylor Brewer, an attorney with the California Women's Law Center, said to the City Council that pregnancy centers are known to use medically inaccurate information. However, such locations offer support to women who are unsure about whether to have an abortion, give up their child for adoption, or keep their baby. There will be another reading of the ordinance this week.
The Attorney General is demanding that companies who use plastic bags must prove that they're recyclable.
Attorney General Rob Bonta announced on Wednesday that companies have to prove their plastic bags are recyclable or face enforcement actions. Bonta said that most plastic bags in the state handed out to customers are not actually recyclable, even though they are labeled as such, and end up in landfills. He added that unrecyclable plastic bags not only create plastic pollution, but also cause equipment shutdowns for recyclable waste, adding to risk of worker injury. Heidi Sanborn, executive director at the National Stewardship Action Council, said that China stopped taking recyclables in 2017, creating a glut of materials globally. California did not have enough infrastructure to compensate for that. The Last Beach Cleanup, a California-based group, has filed several lawsuits against retailers to end misleading and allegedly unlawful marketing of recyclable bags.
Now let's check in with NTD's Thomas Christian for today's Sports Roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup.
Pessimism from fans surrounds Mexico as they gear up for the World Cup in Qatar after inconsistency in qualifying and warm-up matches. Despite finishing second in the 8-team CONCACAF qualifiers behind Canada, Gerardo Tata Martino's side drew criticism for the performances, with their toothless attack posing a major concern. Mexico, who lost the CONCACAF Nations League and Gold Cup finals against the U.S. last year, have averaged only 1 goal per game in their 15 competitive matches and friendlies in 2022. El Tri fans and a large section of the Mexican soccer media continue to question their Argentinian coach, who is under immense pressure to turn around their fortunes. But Martino believes the pessimism will only motivate the team to prove the critics wrong. Injuries seem to be the latest problem threatening Mexico's campaign in Qatar, with a number of key players sidelined. Martino has said that he will make a last-minute decision on the inclusion of Raul Jimenez and Jesus Corona, while Rogelio Funes Mori, Luis Romo, and Jorge Sanchez are recovering, and Hector Herrera is in doubt. With Mexico desperate for goals and short on options, all-time top scorer Javier Chicharito Hernandez could have been the one to fill the void, but the LA Galaxy striker was left out of their initial 31-man squad despite his good form this season, has not earned a place in the squad since 2019. Tyler Hero made a tie-breaking three-pointer with 2.5 seconds left, leading Miami to a win over visiting Sacramento. Each team competed without its best player. Miami's Jimmy Butler sat out due to a sore left hip, and Sacramento's De'Aaron Fox missed the game due to a sore right knee. Still, the Kings should be proud of their performance against a real NBA contender. They were led by Domantas Sabonis, who grabbed 22 points, a team-high 12 rebounds, and a game-high 8 assists, while Kevin Huerter added another 22 points. Heat 110, Kings 107. Paul George scored 28 points, Marcus Morris Sr. added 21 and a double-double, and Los Angeles staved off Houston for the win. Morris, who scored 18 of his 21 points in the first half, grabbed 10 rebounds. George shot 10 for 20 and combined with Morris to shoot 7 for 16 from behind the arc. Alperen Şengün compiled 26 points and 13 rebounds to lead the Rockets. Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green added 22 points apiece. Clippers 109, Rockets 101. Lonnie Walker IV scored 28 points, LeBron James and Anthony Davis added 20 each, and Los Angeles pulled out an overtime victory over visiting New Orleans to win consecutive games after an 0-5 start to the season. Put it in the rafters. Davis added 16 rebounds, while James had 10 boards and 8 assists as the Lakers finished off the victory despite blowing a 16-point third-quarter lead. Matt Ryan hit a buzzer-beating three-pointer for the Lakers to send the game into overtime. In just his 6th career NBA game, Zion Williamson scored 27 points for the Pelicans. CJ McCollum had 22 points and 8 assists for New Orleans. Lakers 120, Pelicans 116.
And that's all for the sports.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.